Hi, I'm Nick with United Foodservice Solutions, and today we're going to be cleaning the 920 Carpigiani pump-fed ice cream machine. First thing we're going to do, once the machine tells you it's ready to be cleaned, we're going to go ahead and drain out all the ice cream that's in it. Then we're going to go ahead and add some warm water into the hopper here, then drain out that. The reason we're doing that is just to kind of get any of the excess ice cream out. That way it's easy to work with the equipment. We're going to work from top down. So first thing we'll do is we'll take the lids off. Then you can easily remove your beater for the agitator on the top for your. Then we're going to go ahead and we're going to remove the pump system. Everything twists and comes out. Now we're going to break down the things that need to be broken down. First, you're going to take off these seals. Now we're going to take apart the pump. The nice part about these pumps for Carpigiani is only one side can go together. If you take the one off of this side and you tried to put it together with this pump, it wouldn't match. Once we've broken it all down, wash it in warm soapy water, scrub everything, let it air dry. What we're going to do now is we're going to reassemble it, but we're also going to use the Carpi lube. This is the lube you should be using anytime you're cleaning or replacing an O-ring. We're going to lube up our seal just a little bit on your fingers, as you can see, not a ton. You're just going to put your seal back in your pump here. The reason we're lubing the face up on this is because it does wear onto this. It is a wearable part. Simply just put that back on. Grab your little locking knobs, finger tight. If you tighten one side down, it won't tighten on the other side and it'll get a leak. So you just kind of want to slowly tighten each side. Now we're going to go ahead and put a little bit of lube still. I'm just using what's excess on here for our seal on the back. Now we're going to go ahead and attach the pickup tube. First piece that needs to go in here is our little plastic stopper. So all that does is goes flat end down. So it goes in. Now you put your spring. Pickup tube obviously needs to have its O-ring put on. Make sure it's lubricated. There we go. O-ring's on. Now there is a little notch in here. What that notch is for is it's going to go over this little holding thing. Push this down, rotate it in place. I always started at about the halfway point, so this is always facing outwards. Now your pump's all set. We're going to finish and go ahead and do the pickup tube, which is pretty easy. All we're doing here is, again, I have a little excess lube on my fingers, so we'll go ahead and use that. If you have a hard time getting it on like I am, you can always use your seal tool. Work it down. Boom. There you go. Lube is your friend in this. Pop it in. That's in there. Now we got one more seal to go back on. There we go. Now everything is back together and ready to go back in the machine. Now we're going to do is we're going to remove the extraction front plate here with your handles and everything. That way we can get access to the beaters and finish the cleaning process. Some of these can be on there kind of tight depending on who put them on. Just working these off. I take them off kind of slowly just so the pressure is relieved evenly. Now if you're somebody that's having a hard time getting at these ones, you can always remove these handles. They just twist off. Now with these handles removed, it's just easier access to be able to get at these. On this machine, it's not that difficult, but some of the smaller ones, it can be. So it kind of comes in handy. Now once all the bolts are removed, I don't usually let it sit here freestanding because it could fall off. If there's any ice cream left over or anything in there, the pressure could push it and you don't want this to hit the ground. Once it comes off, this is what it looks like as a whole piece. All right, now we're going to go ahead and remove the beaters. Now, you want to be really careful when you're taking these out because they can be kind of heavy. and you do not want the metal to hit the inner tube. We're going to go ahead and break down our extractor. One pull and that's out. Depending on how long they've been in there, because you can go up to 42 days on this specific machine here, these might be a little bit harder to get out, but I just use this little handle to pop it out. There's one. There we go. Now we're going to flip it over. Two seals, doesn't matter which side they go on. They're both exactly the same. Now the last thing to do is to take off these Starr patterns. It kind of gives you the design that the ice cream will come out of the machine on. Seals are in there. This is completely disassembled and ready to be washed. Here, this is a single flavor extractor. This is a twist flavor extractor. So this one will always be in the middle, and these ones, as you can see, there's two, will always be on the outside. Now we're going to go ahead and put them back together. Again, we're going to use Carpi Lube for everything with a rubber seal. So I like to work this top one down. I just try to eliminate any possible tearing on that seal. Now that it's all on and in place, as you can see here, that's how it should look. Now for this one, it's a little bit easier. Doesn't matter which ring goes onto the bottom. They're both the same again, and this one will go right on past and down to the bottom. For the next step, we're going to work on the extractor face. I'm going to put the big seals on first. Again, I have a lot of excess on my gloves, so I'm going to do that. You're going to want to put a little bit more though once they're in, but I find it easier to work it on when it's not full of lubrication. Get a little bit on my fingers, and then I just add it on. This is the part that'll go on to the face of the machine with the metal, and it kind of dries out over time. So I just put a nice healthy amount on there. And we're going to go ahead and flip this over this way. I put it on the table flat like this because it's easier to go ahead and put our extractor tubes on. I always start with the middle one. There's no real in particular way that you have to. I'm going to give it a nice little pound. If you look here, these are the sensors for it. As you see, there's no notch, so they have to rotate around. So this is like a great learning. Here's the little tubes. This is where your handles would go in. As you can see, this one doesn't have it because we put it in backwards on purpose to show you what it looks like. All right, now that we have it turned around, push her back in. Good to go. All right, now for the little handles. So you look at these, there's a little dial on here, and that can determine your extraction speed. So these have to be facing downwards. So you put them in like so. Now, depending on which ones are which, like the middle one might be a different speed than both your outers ones. So just want to make sure that you put the right one with whichever one it is that you have set that way. But it is also easy to change if you mess it up once it's together. Now, these tubes, a little metal tube goes through. Just got to adjust them, and there you go. Now we're done with this. We got these seals here, but we're going to set these aside until after we disassemble and clean our beater. So unlike a lot of other companies, this beater is a lot easier to take apart and clean. On the front here, on this front piece, you have this little lever here that holds this all together. So all you do, pull it back and then pull it off. Now, this is all that holds all these on, so everything else will come right off. Extremely easy. So here it is, clean. Now we're going to put it back together. Again, it's really hard to mess up. This portion is the back piece. So all it does, you just slide her on. Okay. Next piece goes like this. Now here's a fun little thing to show you. See this little notch lines up with that notch. So that's how you know you put it together right. There we go. Perfect. Now it's all together in one piece. Before you go ahead and put it back in the machine, you're going to want to make sure you put this seal on. In this, you're going to want to put a decent amount of lubrication in because it is always spinning whenever the beater is spinning. If you forget to put it on, you'll have ice cream dumping out of the side of your machine. I will show you where on the machine over here. Now this is kind of like a overfill tray for the back of the beater. If something were to happen, you would see this filling up. Maybe your seal's cracked or broken, but this will start filling up with ice cream. And at that point, you're going to want to go ahead and shut the machine down, break it down, and figure out which one of your beaters maybe doesn't have the seal or it's broken. We're going to go ahead and put the beater back into the machine. Again, kind of like we did when we took it out, you want to be extremely careful not to hit this portion on this part of the wall. If you get a crack in this, you'll get coolant leaks and things like that, and it's going to be extremely expensive to repair. So now, as you can see on the one on this side, it's much more flush than this one, but it seems like this one's all the way in. It isn't. You have to rotate it and apply pressure inward until it lines up. Now it is all the way in and ready for you to put the face on. I always start with the two in the middle just to get it so it holds it on for me. That way I can use both of my hands instead of holding it in place. So these ones, we're not going to tighten them down much. We're just going to get it so right to where it connects with the face. An error that I've made before would be I've tightened down one side completely and then tried to tighten the other side down. And what ended up happening is I had ice cream coming outside of the seal. So you want to evenly apply pressure across, almost like you're tightening a wheel on a car. So we're going to go ahead and put this one on. I get it finger tight right there. Again, finger tight. So now I just tighten the two opposite corners as tight as I can there. And then I come back here to the opposite corners again. Now that everything's hand tight, I kind of go back through, make sure that they're good to go. None of them have gotten loose. Everything seems tight. Now we're going to go ahead and put our handles on, dispensing handles. Again, these just screw on. Really simple. Now the reason I put these on last is because if you determine that you want to change maybe the style that you want to put on, because Carpigiani offers different designs, this would be the time where you could go ahead and change all that. Gets a little bit of lubrication. And don't worry, this lubricant is safe and edible. They just screw on the same as everything else. So I just put these on here right now for finger tight. So this is the tool that would come with this style of dispensing door in order to tighten these on. They just go on underneath and you just tighten. Now, I don't do them extremely tight. I just get them a little bit more than I can with finger tight. That way they're not impossible to get off afterwards. All right, so now we're going to take the pump that we assembled earlier. And this right here is just our shaft that ultimately goes into the motor in the back that spins the pump. So we're just going to go ahead and place that in. This is where I would say it can get tricky sometimes, is if it doesn't line up, you can't push it in all the way. You just got to push a little bit extra there and it will. So there is a little notch right here that the pump does sit on. So once it's in and it's sitting on that, you won't be able to rotate it anymore. Now at this moment, where we're at in this process, cleaned the beater, we've cleaned the face, we've cleaned the pump, the pickup tube, all that. The machine has been sanitized, or is about to be sanitized, I should say. You would get your sanitizing water with your sanitizing solution and dump it into the machine without the pickup tube in it at this point. The reason you want to do that is you're going to allow the water and sanitizer to go down into the chamber without having to turn the machine on. What I would do then is I would take my agitator, I put that on there, take my tube, and I just set it into the solution for it to sanitize for, about 5 minutes. Once that's done, I would then connect the tube, put it in, rotate it to lock it in place. Now I would turn the machine on You're gonna hit this a few times and it'll say beater and pump. And what it's doing is it's drawing and sucking up the water into the pump, into the beater. And at that point, I would drain the sanitizer out. And then the sanitizing water's out. Then you would add your ice cream mix. Before you add the mix though, just like we did with the sanitizing water, you're gonna wanna make sure that this is disconnected. And the reason for that, again, is it'll just fill that chamber up much quicker and easier. That way you're not having such a downtime. Add your mix in. Once the mix has been added and it stops bubbling, then you're going to go ahead and put your tube back in. Once it's filled with ice cream on both sides, or even one side, because one side can work on this specific machine on its own. It doesn't need to have both sides working in order to produce ice cream. All you're going to do is you're going to press start. Wait, because it's getting the ice cream frozen in the chamber, which takes about between 5 and 7 minutes. And then once it's ready, it'll say ready, and then you'll be ready to serve. If you found this video helpful and useful, please go ahead and give us a like and subscribe. Also, visit our website, ufss.net, with any other questions or any helpful videos that you feel like you want to see.